How many times have you said it this week? Tomorrow. Not out of laziness. Not because you don't care. But because today felt too full, too messy, too uncertain. Tomorrow became the place where everything perfect could happen. Where you'd have more time, more energy, more clarity. Tomorrow was safe. Tomorrow was possible. Tomorrow never asked anything of you. But here's the thing nobody wants to admit. Tomorrow is where dreams go to wait. And waiting, when it becomes a habit, doesn't feel like waiting anymore. It just feels like life. You've probably told yourself you're not like that. You have plans. Real ones. You've written them down, thought them through, maybe even told a few people about them. You know what you want. You're just waiting for the right moment. The right conditions. The right version of yourself. And that's the trap. Because the right moment never announces itself. It doesn't knock on your door with a sign that says, "Now is the time." It just passes. Quietly. While you're still getting ready. There was a man named David. Mid-30s. Smart. Capable. The kind of person people looked at and thought had it all figured out. He worked a steady job, lived in a decent apartment, had friends, had hobbies. From the outside, his life looked fine. Maybe even good. But inside, David carried something heavier. A list. Not written down, but always there. Things he wanted to do. A book he wanted to write. A business idea he'd sketched out years ago. A conversation he needed to have with his father before it was too late. A trip he'd been planning since college. Small things and big things, all waiting for the same thing. Tomorrow. Every Sunday night, he'd think about it. He'd open his notebook, look at the ideas, feel that familiar spark. This week, he'd tell himself. This week I'll start. But Monday came with emails. Tuesday with exhaustion. Wednesday with distractions. And by Friday, the week was gone. So he'd close the notebook and think, next week. Next month. When things calmed down. Years went like this. Not all at once. Not in a way that felt dramatic. Just one postponed decision after another. One delayed phone call. One unopened document. One "I'll do it later" that turned into 1,000. His father passed away on a Tuesday morning in March. Unexpected. Quick. And David stood at the funeral remembering all the conversations he'd planned to have. All the questions he'd meant to ask. All the time he thought he'd have. He didn't cry during the service. He cried 2 weeks later, sitting alone in his apartment, staring at his phone, realizing he'd spent years saying, "I'll call him this weekend," and now the weekends didn't matter anymore. That night, something shifted. Not in a loud way. Not in a way that made him suddenly different. But he started noticing something he'd never paid attention to before. How often he said tomorrow. How easily it came out. How comfortable it felt. He noticed it at work when his boss asked who wanted to lead the new project. He thought about raising his hand. Didn't. Told himself he'd be ready next time. He noticed it at the gym when he thought about finally signing up for that boxing class he'd been curious about for years. He looked at the schedule. Walked past the front desk. Maybe next month. He noticed it when his sister called and asked if he wanted to visit her and the kids. He said he'd love to. Just not this weekend. Things were busy. Soon though. Definitely soon. And each time he said it, a little part of him stayed where it was. Waiting. Safe. Comfortable. Stuck. Before we dive deeper, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. We'd love to hear from you, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss any of our upcoming videos. David started asking himself a question he'd never really considered. What if tomorrow doesn't come? Not in a morbid way, but in a practical one. What if the conditions never get perfect? What if he never feels completely ready? What if all this waiting was just fear dressed up as planning? Because that's what he realized. It wasn't laziness keeping him from starting. It was comfort. The comfort of not failing because he never tried. The comfort of staying in the safe zone where potential still existed and disappointment couldn't touch him. Tomorrow let him keep his dreams intact without ever risking them in reality. He thought about a plant his mother used to keep by the window. She'd water it, make sure it got light, check the soil. But she never repotted it. She kept saying she would. Kept saying it needed more space to grow. But she never did it. And eventually, the plant stopped growing. Not because it died, but because it ran out of room. It stayed alive, but it stopped becoming what it could have been. That's what tomorrow does. It keeps you alive, but it stops you from growing. So one night, David did something small. He opened his laptop. Not to plan. Not to research. Not to prepare. He just started writing. The book he'd been thinking about for 7 years. He wrote one paragraph. It wasn't good. It wasn't profound. But it was real. It existed. And that was more than it had ever been before. The next day, he didn't write. He was tired. He had things to do. But the day after that, he wrote 2 paragraphs. Then a page. Then a chapter. Not because he suddenly became disciplined, but because he stopped waiting for the feeling that never comes. The feeling of being ready. He called his sister. Booked a flight. Spent a weekend with his niece and nephew and realized how much of their childhood he'd already missed while waiting for a better time. He signed up for the boxing class. Showed up tired after work. Got hit in the face during sparring. Laughed about it. Went back the next week. None of it was perfect. None of it felt like a transformation. It just felt like living. Like finally stepping into the days instead of watching them pass. And here's the part that matters. Here's the part that connects to you. You're doing it right now. Maybe not with the exact same things, but with something. There's something you keep pushing to tomorrow. Something that matters to you. Something you think about when you're alone. Something you've been meaning to start, meaning to finish, meaning to try. And every time you say tomorrow, you're making a choice. Not a neutral one. Not a harmless one. You're choosing safety over growth. Comfort over possibility. The known over the real. What if you didn't? Not in some huge, life-changing way. Not by quitting your job or moving across the country or doing something reckless. But just by doing one thing today that you've been saving for tomorrow. One email. One phone call. One page. One conversation. One decision. What if today was the day you stopped rehearsing your life and started living it? Because here's the truth nobody wants to say out loud. Tomorrow isn't a plan. It's a delay disguised as intention. And the longer you wait, the more you convince yourself that waiting is the same as preparing. But it's not. Preparing moves you forward. Waiting keeps you still. You don't need permission. You don't need perfect conditions. You don't need to feel ready. You just need to start. Messy. Imperfect. Uncertain. That's how everything real begins. David didn't become a different person. He's still the same guy. Still has doubts. Still gets tired. Still postpones things sometimes. But now, when he catches himself saying tomorrow, he stops. He asks himself if he's planning or if he's hiding. And more often than not, he chooses today. Not because today is easier, but because today is real. You've been carrying something. Maybe for months. Maybe for years. Something you want to do, need to do, keep promising yourself you'll do. And every time you push it to tomorrow, it gets a little heavier. A little harder to pick up. A little easier to forget. But it's still there. Waiting for you. Not tomorrow. Today. The life you want doesn't start when you're ready. It starts when you move. Even if the step is small. Even if you're scared. Even if you fail. Because failure is just proof you tried. And trying is the only thing that separates the people who live their lives from the people who plan them. So here's the question you need to answer. Not out loud. Not to me. To yourself. What are you waiting for? Really? What are you waiting for? What has to happen before you give yourself permission to begin? What conditions need to be met? What version of yourself needs to show up? Because I'll tell you what David learned. That version never comes. The perfect moment never arrives. The fear never fully goes away. You just decide that today matters more than tomorrow. And you move. Like the video if this hit you the way it was meant to. Share it with someone who's been stuck in tomorrow longer than they should be. And subscribe because we make stories like this. Stories that don't just motivate you for 5 minutes. Stories that sit with you. Stories that change the way you see your own life. Tomorrow is a comfortable lie. Today is the only truth you'll ever get. What are you going to do with it?